Hello. This will just be a short video, hopefully, just explaining how homework is going to work this year at the junior school. It'll be particularly relevant, obviously, to Year 3 parents, but also for older year groups, just as we explain the introduction of the school planner as well. So hopefully you will have already seen your child's school planner come home. Every child has been given one of these for the first time this year, and we have impressed on the children the importance that they are responsible for looking after their own planner. We do have some replacements if we need them. We do suggest a contribution of £2 for any lost planners though, because they are quite expensive to buy, obviously. We've impressed on the children the importance they need to look after them because they have their login stored inside of them, and also to keep track of their learning at home. Homework will be, as we've done in previous years, aimed at 30 minutes per day for each year group, with some extras for Year 6 based on their preparation for high school. So the structure for all year groups is the same for the 30 minutes. That's based around the idea of 10 minutes of reading, 10 minutes of number practice, and 10 minutes of spelling practice. And I'll talk a little bit more about each of those now. So first of all, for the 10 minutes of reading, this is the most important thing we ask you to do at home with your children. The importance of reading cannot be overestimated. And actually we know children who achieve well in their reading tend to achieve well across the curriculum because it's so important to everything else they study. So we ask regular reading at home be the first priority. We aim for 10 minutes a day. Obviously we'd encourage more than that, but really importantly, we have a few options for what that might look like. So in the homework diary, all we ask is that children tick each day whether they have read independently, so they've read a book to themselves, that could be a book from school or from home, whether they've read to an adult, if they're reading to you and you're listening to them, helping them along with that, or if an adult has read to them. And it's really important that there are opportunities for you to read to your child. One of the most valuable things we can do for children is to read books that are slightly too hard for them to read for themselves, but that introduce them to language and ideas that are more complex than they're used to. So if you're already reading 10 minutes before bedtime every day, then absolutely tick that in the box and that's the homework done. Obviously, we'd encourage our child to be reading independently as well. The more they're doing, the better. But that 10 minutes aim as a minimum is what we ask across the school. Now, one of the things to say about reading is that in school, then they can take a quiz on all of the books they've read. So if they borrow a book from school, it will have a code in it, and when they come back to school, they can complete a quiz on our accelerated reader programme. But equally, if they're reading a book from home, when they come back to school, they can check to see if there's a quiz available for that book and score points towards their targets and gather other information. Now, there's a separate video about accelerated reader and how we use it in school that's about 10 minutes long, so we'll put a link to that in the description below. But it's really important, if you're not familiar with Accelerated Reader, do have a look at that and see how we assess the children, how they choose their books in school, and how the Accelerated Reader quizzes work. And one of the really valuable things about that is there's an option for AR Home Connect, which you'll find in the Parents menu of the school website. And using your child's login and password, just the same as they use at school for Accelerated Reader, you can log in as a parent and see all the books they've quizzed on in school and how they're doing with their reading. So instead of a reading record, that's all kept online now. But like I say, that's all included in a separate video. In addition to reading, we ask for 10 minutes of number practice, and that might be from either the Numbots or the Times Tables Rockstars website, which are both activities and games for children to practice their number knowledge. If you don't have reliable internet access at home, do speak to your child's class teacher and they can give you a booklet instead. So for Times Tables Rockstars, we'd ask that they log on and spend at least 5 minutes a day on that. So we've said 10 minutes homework, but we realise just logging on a laptop and getting all that set up can take a bit longer. Obviously, if you're doing 10 minutes or more, that's great. But the most important thing with number practice is we encourage little and often. So we set the target on the software of 5 minutes a day. If you do more, that's great, but it allows you to achieve that regularly. For younger children, we might start instead with the Numbots website. So rather than times tables, this practices their number bond knowledge. And that's really important, that knowing all of the single digit addition facts. So for example, knowing that 9 plus 7 is 16 and equally 7 plus 9 is 16 is really helpful for their column addition and later their column multiplication. So we want them to know those things off by heart. So Numbots for the younger children, and then they'll gradually move on to Times Tables Rockstars. And the Times Tables Rockstars website adapts to your child's knowledge. So once they've practiced a few times, it will set them slightly more challenging questions. But again, aiming for at least 5 minutes practice a day in that 10-minute window, more if you can manage it. The third part of the homework is spellings. And we deliberately keep spellings to a limited number but with high challenge. So each week your class teacher will set 5 spellings for your class, and they will be recorded in the homework planner. And those 5 spellings will be linked to the curriculum. So they're not all with the same spelling pattern, they're linked to the work we're doing in school. And it's really valuable for increasing the children's vocabulary knowledge and also learning to spell those words that they're using in context, so that they've got opportunities to practice them in school and at home. Now, we'd encourage a daily look at those, just reminding yourselves of the tricky letter patterns, making sure they understand each of the words, and over the course of the week, ask that you spend some time writing a sentence for each of those words. Often that will be linked to the work again they're doing in school. So, for example, in Year 3, when you're studying the Stone Age, there might be 5 language words to do with the prehistoric period, and there'll be 5 sentences to write. Then the children can write those sentences based on what they've learned at school using each of those words. And obviously it's really important they check that they've spelled those correctly then. Now, as I've mentioned, in Year 6, there'll also be some additional work set from the IXL website, which is good preparation for their Key Stage 2 test papers and also preparation for secondary homework. And we really want the children to take the lead on the responsibility for that. So they will make a note in their homework planners of what they need to do, but they can be responsible for logging on and achieving those things. And again, if internet access is a problem, do let us know. I've mentioned already that there is another video available if you want to understand more about how we use Accelerated Reader in school and how you can access the bookshelf. So do have a look for that video as well. And in any case, if you have any questions about Accelerated Reader or about homework, please do speak to your child's class teacher or email into the school office and we'll be happy to help.